This is a section with the lightning talks. There are going to be 5 brave men talking about inspiring things and something maybe pretty unusual or usual, small or big, depends on those people. And as a first speaker, I would like to invite Vladimir Ulogov with his presentation of large-scale simulation.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So I will not entertain you for long. Let me turn on the timer. I will not go on the stage. So, for a number of years, I had a keen interest in simulation of things. So, and particularly when we're talking about monitoring, as the Zabbix administrator, you're responsible to the fact that your configuration and your monitoring infrastructure is valid and provide you reliable data. So all your triggers, all your low-level discoveries working, and all your actions are operational. In reality, this is usually not the case. And one of the problems when the people deploying Zabbix configurations, they don't test them properly. So oftentimes they test them on a smaller scale, on the smaller parts of the infrastructure, and sometimes they don't test their configuration at all. No load tests, no configuration tests, they just deploy the stuff. And after the configuration becomes from very small to medium to large, the problem starts to emerge. Solution. In order to assess the monitoring configuration, you do need to perform the tests. You need to validate your work. First, it is a question of the cost. Because if you don't validate your monitoring configuration doesn't work, you miss the event, and it will cost you. Second, oftentimes organizations cannot permit you to test your configuration on real-life equipment because, for example, real-life equipment could be very expensive. Nobody gives you expensive piece of equipment just as the play toy. Solution, and the first step in the right direction is perform your tests on the simulator. About a year ago, I pretty much recreate Zabbix Agent Simulator, which it's a piece of software, pretty trivial one, which simulates the behavior of the Zabbix passive agent. So here is a link where you can get this piece of software. And good, the Zabbix Agent Simulator works. It will feed your Zabbix with the realistically looking data or with whatever data you like to feed the Zabbix. But the problem is not scalable. If you want to simulate the network consisting of, like, let's say, 100 nodes, you need to run 100 instances of the simulator. If you need 5,000 nodes, you need 5,000 instances, which is sometimes problematic. So, and this time I'm in the middle of creating another piece of the software called Zabbix Proxy Simulator. So I'm shifting the simulation from the agent to the proxy. So, Zabbix Proxy Simulator will interface with the Zabbix server exactly as Zabbix Proxy. It will support active and passive modes, and okay, where is the button? Here is the components of the active proxy interface and the passive proxy interface. It will be temporary database, which will hold the temporary data for the simulator. And the two main components of the proxy simulator. It is a facts exchange and rule processing engine. So in order to provide the proper simulation, you need to generate realistically looking data or data that you consider to be suitable for the successful simulation. And how to get this data? This data will be coming from the rule-based engine. And as the base of the rule-based engine, I took the CLIPS library. If you ever heard this tool. I will talk about CLIPS in a second. Yeah, here is the CLIPS. It's a very old and very established library which been used for generations. It's been originally written in 1985 to create an expert systems. So, and CLIPS expert system operates on the two pretense, on the facts, and that is what the fact looks like in our simulator. So we define the item, and for the item we have several slots which tells us about which host it is, which key, type, ID, value, stamp, and this is an example of the fact. And this is an example of the rule. So this rule will find all the facts which have a key VFSFS size and assign randomly generated value for those items between 70 and 80. So that's very trivial example of what the fact is doing. So fact have a left side, trivial example of the rule. So rule have a left side, which is pretty much if part of the rule, and the rule have a right side, which is then part of the rule. So good things are worth waiting for. So it's a
Vladimir,
mantra.
we need increased speed of simulation.
Yes, so it's a mantra of the last year. Some components are done, but I expect to finish the first release in about November or around that time. So that's all for now.
Any questions to Vladimir about his project? Anybody? Okay, I got a question. Vladimir, why the world sometimes is such an awful place?
Because nobody cares to test this design on simulator.
Okay, thank you a lot. Your applauses to Vladimir. And we have a next presenter. Rafael will talk about Zabbix client for terminal. Please welcome Rafael.
Thank you. I'm going to say a few words about software that we have developed at the University of Oslo. We call it Zabbix CLI or Zabbix CLA. Zabbix CLA is a Zabbix client that we can run in the terminal, and we use it to access Zabbix. We use the API to do this, and we use it mainly for two things. One, to automate some tasks that we have to do to configure and to maintain Zabbix, and also to run manually some maintenance tasks that are better to do with one command and then many clicks in the client interface. It is not a full implementation of the API. It's just a subset of commands that we need to do our job every day. It's writing in Python. It has a GPL license, so it's available for everybody. When you install the Zabbix CLI, you will get two programs, the client itself, and you will get another program to initialize what the client needs to work. The first thing you have to do when you install the Zabbix CLI is to run the Zabbix CLI init program with the address of your Zabbix installation. And this will generate a configuration file in your home directory with all the things that the client needs to access your Zabbix solution. You can edit that configuration file if you want. You can change parameters if you want to. You can run the client in two ways. You have the possibility of running the client in interactive modus. To do this, you have to execute the Zabbix CLA without parameters, and that will start a Zabbix CLA shell where you can execute Zabbix CLA commands. If you want to run the client from the command line, then you will have to use some parameters to tell the client what it can do. This is the list of commands we have implemented. You can get this list at any time running the help command in the client. You have information about those commands also with the help and the name of the Zabbix CLI command. You can run any command in the client without parameters, and then the client will ask you about the parameters that it needs to do the job. Or if you know the parameters that the commands need, you can do it in that way, and the client won't have to ask you for what you have to do. You can use some wildcards with many of the parameters you send when you are going to search or get some information from Zabbix. You can also define the output format that you will get if you run the client in the command line modus. And you have the possibility of using CSV or JSON of output, and this is something that we use a lot in our automation scripts when we use Zabbix CLI to do the job in Zabbix. This is a very easy example of things you can do in the shell. We are calling the Zabbix CLI client to get a list of all the servers in our system that has Zabbix and proxy in the host name. And then we will use this list to go through the list and call the Zabbix client again to update the inventory for those hosts with some kind of information. This is something that it can be done very fast. And you have also the opportunity of running bulk updates. For that, you have to create a text file with all the Zabbix CLA commands you want to run, and use this text file on the client to run all the commands at once. Of course, if you are going to use the client from your scripts to automate things, you will have to have some kind of mechanism to avoid writing the username and password you need to log in Zabbix. And then you have two ways of doing this. You can have an authorization file with the username and password of the account accessing Zabbix. You have to have this file in your home directory. Be careful because the password is in plain text. So, yeah. And the other way of doing it is with the authorization token file, where you will have information about the token you have active in a session, and you will avoid, you won't need having to write the username and the password as long as the session is active. And that was all. The source code is available in GitHub. And if you want to use it, do it. It helps us a lot in our everyday life. OK, that was all. Thank you.
Thank you a lot. It was a nice presentation. Any questions?
Great tool. Is it possible to actually acknowledge events using this
No.
CLI tool? Are you going to implement it?
Why not? Yeah.
Because if you're looking for this Rundeck integration, maybe I thought it would be a great add-on to actually use your tool to, complement the middleware.
Actually, it's not difficult to define new commands, because as long as you have something in the API that you can use, it's a lot of copy and paste from different commands, and just you have to change some parameters and the procedure you are using. And it's
Okay.
so send some
Pull request. No?
yeah, or just
we are done.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
And I will see.
So if you were to play a game, which game would you play?
What do you think? I think tic-tac-toe will be the right one.
Okay, thank you a lot. No. Thank you a lot. And we have another speaker. Okay, our superstar from the last conference, Lightning Talks, Inaba Kazuhiko, and we will right now have a part 2.
Okay, and I hear you about Zabbix in Japan. So about me, before the explanation, name is Kaz, and on Twitter, born in Japan, which is far from here. I work as a system engineer, mainly creating IT infrastructure. I really like Zabbix, and this is her first conference for me. I want to go overseas to have a chance, okay? So agenda, what is a hierarchy, and what is the hierarchy system? So okay, remember, do you know a hierarchy? This is the story I explained last year here. You already forgot? Let's go over, okay? First, listener, like to listen carefully. What is a hierarchy? A hierarchy is a word that many messages about also Bandak in Japanese. We get many messages and pictures of ducks if you search for the term hierarchy on Twitter. So this is an example from Twitter. You write it down, hierarchy on Twitter. So Twitter return posts with ducks and kind of Japanese messages, kind of messages like this. So ahiru means duck and male in Japanese, and yaki means burned. The word akiraki is only used to make fun and jokes. It's popular in Nagoya and Tokyo on Twitter around the Japanese open source communities, the Tokaido Linux user group, Tokaido Log in Japanese. So sometimes when searching for the word, you will get this picture in the result of the picture. The writing in Japanese closely says, please take me away from here, okay? I last explained last year. So Zabbix is monitoring the number of times people who search for the term. Zabbix is monitoring a hierarchy. The software is called a counter made in Nagoya area by persons, Mr. Ahiru and Mr. Tsubouchi, using programs, Python programs, and Ruby. The term hierarchy is very popular. Oh boy. So most messages like this is like that in English. And lots of messages, you get this picture, you might have seen this before, okay? So now about hierarchy count in details, that is count the number of times the hierarchy is mentioned every day. So the program made a graph in using the data. We can watch the graph displaying the current updates on Twitter. Let's watch this. Tweeting about the day, this is the new one. You know, about 500 user accounts and over 13,000 postings for the time being. So let us search for the term hierarchy from all over the world. That's it. Okay? And what is a hierarchy system? About a hierarchy system, take a look at this. It's composed of 3 parts. It's like a Mikuta plugin, and whose name is Japanese Ahiru Yakuna, a Zabbix sender in a here account of Python programming and Zabbix monitoring. This is the whole life of this. This is the whole this picture, okay? And so I talk later precisely. First of all, Mikuta plugin, which means based on Ruby programs, return like a similar kind of message on Twitter. So here term on Twitter return kind of message on made of Ruby program. But Mikuta plugin Ahiru Yakuna. And you need to install out of the Twitter client software of the Mikuta to use Mikuta plugin. Okay? Mikuta site like this. That is sending a lot of return messages on Twitter in the graph of the statistics by Python program Akira counter based on Zabbix sender. So it can only return message on Twitter by Python Akira counter based on Zabbix sender. It's like this. So Miketa plugin Akira as follows and 3 parts and main part and return messages and a configuration file. So Akira sources like this in detail. The center of the part is you can change the keyword, not Akira key, but the term you like. So Akira counter Python is like this, and we set variables. And 3 parts of the sources, because it's much longer. So this is the overview. Class Zabbix sender, and Zabbix sender port, and the class Zabbix API, the setting property, and setting graph like this, and the main port. So source side, you can download and customize Mikuta plugin and Akira counter like this. And Zabbix references API Mariam Zabbix API like that, okay? So I share the overview and reference. You're able to watch in Japanese what the sources in detail. So this is the main part I want to say. So everybody can customize them using these sources and change the keyword from Akira key to the term you like. So you can software like the Akira system in your country, monitored by Zabbix. You're able to experience such wonderful things like Akira key on Twitter enjoyably. Why don't we do that in your country? So that is an extra Akira sticker we made. I have some with me now. I would like some, please come to me. Please don't hesitate to ask, okay? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you a lot for your presentation. It was one of the fastest how-to that I ever seen. And now we have a presentation of Richard Olubs with the topic Zabbix log management. Please welcome Richard.
So Zabbix log files, the configuration in up to 3.0, you could configure the log file location with the log file parameter. If that was not set, Zabbix would log to a syslog. Log file size limits the log file size, obviously, and debug log specifies how many messages to output and how detailed they should be. Zabbix 3.0 changed this so that now there's log type parameter, and log file only specifies the path to that if the log type is set to file. You can also log to the terminal with the system, to the syslog with the system parameter, and to the terminal with the console or to the standard output. The log file format is pretty simple. It cannot be customized. The first part is the space padded to 6 symbols. That's the PID. Then comes the date, time, milliseconds, and the actual log file message. Guess from whom I lifted the QR code idea? Anyway, so a few problems with the log file implementations in Zabbix. Each process opens the log file individually and holds 2 file descriptors to this file. There are some cases where the log files, even when they're deleted or rotated for whatever reasons, they are kept around without any records besides the file descriptor that the process key is keeping open. This was reduced significantly in 3.0. So your agents, if they are keeping log files open for a long time, consider 3.0, that might help. Zabbix processes, the way they implement logging, as they log each of them, they log individually, they might hang. This was reduced to a very tiny possibility. You can look up that issue in the Zabbix tracker and that URL with the QR code for more detail. Awesome blog post, by the way, really detailed. These are the debug levels from default configuration file. In total, what is it, like 6 of them? Almost everybody runs the debug level 3, which is the normal messages. People running embedded systems trying to minimize logging might run 0. I don't really know anybody using 1 or 2 on a larger scale. Debug level 4 and 5, those are usually used when you are debugging some serious problems. So what are they actually doing? The configuration file produces lots of information and produces even more information, which is not very that descriptive. So debug level 4 will look something like this. It will log, for example, on the server all the SQL queries, and it can log a lot. Debug level 5, in addition to that, includes the received page from the web monitoring and the received XML block from the VMware monitoring. There's a blog post, again with a QR code, explaining that in a bit more detail. There's a really awesome feature in 2.4, which I haven't advertised enough. I know many people who actually upgraded to 2.4, even though that is not a long-term support release, just to get that single feature. It saves a lot of time. It's awesome. It makes kittens smile, whatever. There's a blog post also explaining that in more detail. You can change the log level runtime for the whole Zabbix, for the whole daemon process. You can change that for individual process type, for individual process, single internal process like single trapper. And you can change that also by the system PID. A few examples. First one, changing that log level for all of the processes. Second one, changing for all the processes of specific type. Then for a single process from a type, and then by the system PID. If you don't want to remember all of those parameters, process types by heart, you can use bash completion. So you type something like that, tab, you also get all the processes. This is queried from the running daemon on the system. Zabbix bash completion actually is extremely helpful. So especially with 3.0, which added the encryption parameters, even some simple utility like Zabbix get can have a lot of parameters. So bash completion will be extremely good. Ask your great maintainer, the package maintainer, to have bash completion in your distribution, or you can grab it from the online sources. Boom.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, I got the question. If there is so much data logged but at debug level 4, can anybody understand it?
Zabbix developers can. Actually, the log file can be very intimidating for new users. So if you are a new user of Zabbix and you enable debug level 4 for Zabbix server, you might get scared and maybe start using some other product. But don't be scared. After a few years, you'll figure it out. Well, sooner than that. And actually, there was somebody on IRC saying that, hey, the comment didn't lie. It actually does log a lot. So, but you'll learn. Yeah, it's good.
Okay, thank you. And any questions now? No? Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Applauses. And now please welcome our latest speaker, Dimitri Bellini, with the presentation, Planet Mon, the World of IT Networking.
Okay, Planet Mon. What is this Planet Mon? Planet Mon is our experiment. We try to create a new way to monitor for free for everybody. It's a sort of experiment based on Zabbix as engine. And in the second slide, okay, go on. We can see, no, okay. What we are our goal? To provide an easy way to monitor for everyone and create some sort of proactive notification for a possible problem in your host or on your laptop and so on. It's not for business enterprise level support, but it's for everyone, single one maybe, a private user. Okay, we can see our experiment from CMS part, the portal, the web portal, if it's possible. Okay, this is our first step as a beta. The portal tried to explain what kind of service we can offer with these services, and everyone can register and have a dashboard like that, if it's working. Okay. Not so huge and not so impressive, but is an easy way to understand what kind of problem we have, how many devices we monitoring, and what kind of problem we have at this moment. And some information on the left. Maybe this information is coming from Zabbix to better know what is Zabbix, no? And maybe for releasing. And if we want to know much more detail, in this moment we have created this implementation, very simple, to show the states of every host monitored through Zabbix, through Planet Mon. Okay, go to Zabbix server, and we will see very easy, very simple information, CPU, file system, uptime, process, agent, and so on. Go back to the presentation, but the main things of our idea, Planet Mon, is the last syntax. We want to create an expert network of IT company all around the world. We don't want to create the classic portal. We want to create a network of IT specialists that is able to fix the problem in the the beginning only for the private customer. This is our focus, and this is our experiment. It's finished. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Okay, just maybe a question from my side. Is it kind of some kind of a SaaS system, a classical one, or what it's
Yeah,
in real life?
yes, at the first look, seems the classic SaaS solution of Zabbix, no? But it's not it's not this kind of product. We want to create a much more friendly for every user solution. Is like, for example, we want to create a plugin to monitoring maybe other device. No, the user go in the dashboard and select a new plugin. For example, Apache monitoring plugin, and so on. And if they have a problem, call a partner from suggested from our portal.
Okay, and the design, is it Italian design or?
Yes, it's a special Italian design. You notice, it's a Venetian style. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you a lot. Your
Thank you.
applause to Dimitri.